Hey everyone, welcome back to week 2 of the COVID panel. Same people, me, David, Christian and JD, chatting this week around kind of like the management of COVID and, you know, businesses going to work or not going to work. And we had some interesting conversations around that and around kind of stopping panic and difference between cleaning and sanitizing, which was interesting. So much in this was an interesting conversation. I would like to caveat it that the reason I'm hosting these panels is because I'm the person that's like the experienced podcaster. Yet last week, the audio on the intro from the experienced podcaster / YouTuber was horrendous because I forgot to plug my mic in on the camera. So it was just the camera mic. And then this week, I'm having some serious problems with my podcasting mic. So it's like really distorted whenever I speak. So yeah, sorry about that so much. Maybe you should have used somebody else as a host. But interesting conversation nonetheless. Let me actually get the COVID points. Oakley dokley. Remember, very, very important that this panel is, it's very important that you remember that this panel is just opinions and conversations of 4 gentlemen. That's all this is. So I want you to remember what I'm about to read out, which is the government's guidance. You should only leave the house for one of 4 reasons. Shopping for basic necessities, for example, For example, food, medicine, which must be infrequent as possible. 1 form of exercise per day, for example, run, walk or cycle alone or with members of your household. Any medical needs or to provide care or help to a vulnerable person. I've just read that, sorry. This is why I don't work in the government. Travelling to and from work, but only where this is absolutely cannot be done from home. It's important. These reasons are exceptions. When doing these activities, you should minimise time spent outside your home, ensuring you are 2 meters apart from anyone other than people from your household. Note, if you were on my dog walk in Wellingborough this morning, the 2 metre rule seems to be waning a little bit. So please people, this shit is not over. Yeah, we've got a long way to go. And if you think that it's just going to blow past us, you know, try and ask a question why we're building these kind of crazy, huge temporary hospitals, because you know, that stuff's serious. That costs a lot of money. So take this stuff seriously, follow the guidance. In this podcast, it's just opinions and conversations between me and some colleagues, some friends around our thoughts around COVID and businesses and posts that we see on social media and conversations that we're seeing. Yeah, let's get into the podcast.
Can't you wear a Make America Great Again cap, James, rather than the Epic cap?
I will never wear a Make America Great Again cap. Right. Mr. McLean, are you there?
Yo,
there he is. Right, let's get straight into it because I believe the Zoom time limit is now in effect, whereas it wasn't last time. I realised that we'd stumbled across a special offer to kind of persuade me to go into premium, which I decided not to go to. So, quick round the table then. Let's say how we all are. Let's start with Christian, since you're at the top left. How are you?
Sure. Yeah, not bad. I think it's fair to say going slightly stir crazy with staying at home, but and managing the 2 kids and juggling my wife and I's jobs, but trying to stay positive, getting out and doing my allotted exercise every day, albeit mostly walking rather than doing anything too strenuous. But yeah, trying to keep positive and busy on a business front. Lots going on, lots of planning for the future, and trying to deal with existing inquiries from clients, old and new.
Awesome. And by the looks of your lighting, it looks like the heavens have opened on your face. Very bright.
Oh, really?
You got a light right in front of you, or you're sitting next to the sun?
Sitting just in my office, and I think the sun just happens to be sort of...
Lovely. Lucky you. Jonathan, how are you?
It's all about good lighting, that's what they say.
It is, mate. You're right.
I've been busy polishing Christian's halo, which is why he's glad. Yeah, just trying to keep positive. Been out for friends, spoken a lot around business, media, social media, and that kind of thing. Just tapping into lots of different forums on lots of different networks, and yeah, doing okay so far.
been running quite a lot, I can see on LinkedIn.
Yeah, trying to build up my stamina again. I kind of got to about sort of 3 or 4K and then kind of walked back again. But yeah, just trying to build up slowly. The temptation is to try and get back to where I was, but then I pick up an injury. So it's trying to be disciplined, but also just trying to take a minute out to just take a look around. So if I then just walk, go for a little walk and looking across the fields and just appreciate the fact that actually I've got half an hour to make the most of this, whether it's the sun or the wind or the cold or seeing the cows or whatever it is, just try and make the most of it.
Yeah, one of the P's, David, isn't that? Physical exercise.
It certainly is one of the 3 P's.
How are you, David? You all right?
Yeah, I'm fantastic, thank you. Yeah, all going really well. I'm a day or two behind launching my 16-day online program. There's millions to do these things, as you know. It's going really well. I've got 2 12-hour days at it. So it's going really well. It's exciting. I'm really pleased to be launching the next couple of days, but it is what it is. I've also, interestingly, it was a fact I was given a couple of days ago, that most businesses on average have 27 days worth of cash. So there's a lot of business people, it's another podcast or group I was on, a lot of businesses that are sort of thinking, well, we'll wait till the government sorts it out for us, or we'll take these few weeks off, etc. And of course, businesses know how much cash they've got, obviously. But what we were kind of talking about, and the importance of getting down to business today, and the importance of starting to change things, and not having that kind of fear-based response, which is natural for all human beings, but really kind of changing that slightly. So that was really interesting as well, and talking a lot about that. So yeah, out running most mornings, and then visits the supermarket, of course, like everybody's need be, and that's it. Self-isolating apart from that. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you. I as all 3 of you know, but I'm not going to go into too much detail of it because I can't at the moment. But I got some bad news last week that when I first got it, I was okay. I felt all right. The next day, I hit a real low. I don't know what was up with me. I just didn't. I felt like I was just going through the motions of life.
There is a solution to your problem, James. The bad news you got.
Just be quickly, very careful.
Cover, you say, just cover that mirror up with a cloth or something, and then you won't be able to see the reflection.
Cheeky bugger. Just remove Christian from the call.
Yeah. I had. Go on, sorry, James. Go on.
Sorry. Yeah, this is my moment. You've had yours. All right. Come on, sit back. I can mute you. You know. So yeah, I hit a bit of a low on not day before yesterday, but then yesterday morning I was like, do you know what? I'm going to go out on my bike and do some like stuff like that, and I did. I went out a nice long bike ride yesterday, and it was beautiful. Like you were saying, Jonathan, you know, I had a couple of hours. I'd allocated myself to go on a bike ride, and it's lambing season, so there's lambs everywhere, and I ended up like rescuing a lamb in the middle of the road and putting it back in a field. I was just, real springy when I got back. I felt really happy. So I feel better today. My wife just had a 20-week scan of a baby. I couldn't go to that either, and that was the day before yesterday. So that really got me down as well. I don't think before this isolation stuff, I would have been like, I'm not really a social person. I'm okay. I don't need to go. I'm starting to realise I'm definitely a social person. I took that for granted. But yeah, anyway, Christian, sorry, come on. So what were you going to say? And then we'll get into it.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, picking up on David's point about sort of getting down to business and stuff, I did a post on LinkedIn earlier this week and got quite a large amount of engagement on it because it was asking the question of, should we be out selling and marketing our wares at the moment? And the overwhelming majority were saying, we need to be out there, particularly if you've got something that can be helping people like all of us have. We need to be out there and trying to get the message out there as much as we can right now, because if we all stop, then the whole world's going to stop, and that's not good for anyone.
Yeah, I agree. I don't. I think that applies to so many things as well. Whether you're trying to build your business, whether you're trying to advertise your business, whether you're looking for a job, any of this stuff, getting your name out there is never a bad thing, is it? And you got more time on your hands. So yeah, get your name out there. I agree. I didn't see that post, Christian. I normally see all of those.
Oh, really?
I'm a,
It's good, really well engaged, and really, I really love that as well. It's a really, really important thing. And I think it's another aspect of fear, isn't it? What if I do this? Should I be sitting back and doing nothing? Should I be like the sheep, if you like, or should I stand out and do something different and or carry on? And it is that, isn't it? We all need to stand up and be counted in many, many different ways with what's going on, and that's another great example. I really like that post, Christian.
Yeah, I think the key message that came out of that was empathy, wasn't it? I think it's the I think there's a recognition that a lot of people, there are very few businesses now that are actually profiteering out of this and trying to make a fast buck. Actually, a lot of people are just trying to be authentic and being personable. I think it's just how you message it. I think it's the tone, and that tone could be the way of marketing that might have been fine for a year ago or a month ago or even a couple of weeks ago. Actually, it's that tone sensitivity now. It's how you get that message out. But providing you've got that empathy, I think it's got to be the right thing to do. You don't know, whatever you're selling, product or service, you don't know who needs that. And actually, you might have a different market now. There might be different people or organisations that actually need the services now. Clearly, mental health is one, but probably for different types of reasons. Before it might have been mental health in the workplace. Now it's actually mental health at home, where you haven't got support and different types. Mental health is, well, as we know, it's a very broad subject, and historically it probably would have been seen by the majority of people as something that affects one or two people who get depressed. But there's probably now a greater appreciation across more people that actually this is something that's very personal, and we all have mental health to a degree or not, and we need different types of support in different ways, and we can be sensitive to that, whatever we're selling, however we're selling it.
It's interesting. I don't know if you saw this morning, Christian. Just I'm going to check that post out. It sounds very interesting. I'm gutted I missed it. But I watching I shared it this morning. But it was a video from Simon Sinek. He'd like having a conversation about webinars, and it was quite interesting that he said in there, like, the businesses that kind of are going to just sit around and wait and just kind of say, things will come back to normal, are more than likely the businesses that are going to fail during this period. But the businesses that go, we need to evolve with this, we need to adapt and be agile and kind of work out what are the positives from this, how we adjust it, and they're the ones that will find new ways to work and new work streams, that when we do go back to normal, or this is not exactly what he said, but this is how I interpret it, that when we do go back to normal, you'll have all the previously existing work streams, but you'll also have all these new work streams that you evolved during COVID, for example. I would like to say as well, if you've got a mug that says Mr. Cool on it, does that mean you're not cool?
It exactly means that, yeah. As you can probably imagine, or you would hope to imagine, I didn't buy it myself. That would be strange. Yeah, no, I didn't buy it myself, no.
Oh, I'll let you off.
You stole it from one of your friends, didn't you? One of your cool friends.
Oh, that looks cool. I'm going to nick that. Right, let's get into it then. So we're going to talk about kind of... we're talking about managing COVID. There we go. We've got so many things to talk about. I forget which one's which. We're talking about like managing COVID. But here's an interesting point that's not on the guide I sent over that I would like to discuss with you, because it was a bit of a moral dilemma for me, right? So it's also a good excuse because I just left my laptop up, but you can see behind me, this room's an absolute shithole, right? This is my studio. This is my studio that I've relegated myself into the smaller room because this will now become the baby room going forward, because I'm a traditionalist. I think the first child should have the second biggest room, right? So anyway, I'm getting relegated into the back room. There's a work in progress. It's very nearly finished. The one thing it needs is a desk. This desk I'm on now is like permanently fitted to the wall, and we did that intentionally. But long story short, so I went on the internet thinking I'll probably just have a look, because no one's going to be delivering during COVID, obviously, because the country's locked down, and me getting a desk is not an essential service. So I go on. Should I mention a website? I won't mention a website. One of the big providers of furniture, not the one you're thinking of, like the next one. But anyway, but both of these two big websites I had looked at, both still delivering. So here's the moral dilemma. I really want my desk and think I want to get sorted, get everything going. So for me, I wouldn't say it's essential, but it is a bit of a priority. I like to get my teeth into things. Like I said, I was a bit low, so me getting this baby room done is helping me. So I really want to order it, but I'm like, if I order it, am I kind of paying into the world that's forcing these workers to go to work? But then the question stands.
This would make a good LinkedIn post, James.
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
There's a moral legal aspect to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the legal aspect is grey area in terms of what you said. I'm not legal, so don't quote me on this. But it sounds like that morally, it's whether you as a decision you make on your own. And legally, I would say at the moment that there is a grey area in terms of that, and it's not completely clear. So I think not very helpful, is it? But it's down to you.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to the kind of climate argument around carbon footprints and taking flights, isn't it? I suppose in that you might not feel you want to take a seat on a plane, but the plane's going to be going anyway.
But the question still stands: is should they be working? Like, should that warehouse that is primarily furniture be at work? I think not. I think I should be given that decision because the owners of the risk, and maybe Jonathan will chime in on this, but the business has a responsible person, they have a duty holder, they own that risk, they own a duty to the health and safety of their workers, and that health is impacted by COVID. Therefore, this applies to them. It's no different from Legionnaires or asbestos or anything else, in my opinion. So should they not be taking that decision to go, we shouldn't be at work? But then on the flip side, it's going to be a huge hit to the business to just shut everything down, isn't it?
It's probably too fast, isn't it? Your circumstances, you're staying at home, you're isolated, you're following the government advice to not go out, so you're not going to a furniture shop, you're staying at home. From your own physical and mental health, you want your ergonomics to be right so you can spend long periods of time working at a workstation, so to speak. So you're kind of following the right advice. Then you're opening up to the business, and what the government advice currently, as I understand it, is that you work from home unless you can't work from home, apart from those businesses that have been closed down. This is one, I think, where I saw on your post earlier on this week, James, that the HSE has actually been relatively kind of quiet on this.
In my opinion,
yeah, because so far as is reasonably practical, and all the real kind of normal routine understandings of health and safety law, they're kind of almost, they still apply, but this is almost bigger than most of that. It kind of, should you even be there in the first place? It would be interesting to hear the HSE come out and give an official view on that. And ordinarily, you've got IOSH, you've got actually should be influencing the government as well and coming out with some joint insight. Same way, most mornings I'm tuning into the CBI daily webinar, so the Confederation for British Industry. They're advising the Treasury and going with specific questions and getting specific answers back. And I don't get a sense that the HSE are doing that. Because ultimately, it's going to be lots of grey areas. I think what will come out of this, medium, long term, I think there will be lots of civil claims, employment tribunals, and that kind of thing. And one of the advice that I would is to think very hard about what are their responsibilities, understand themselves what the government guidance is and what it means to them, and document the rationale. And I think this will we'll probably talk about more over the next couple of weeks when we talk about practical advice for businesses as well. In many transit situations, like you would in many emergency situations, is document the decisions you make at the time and document the rationale and the circumstances you saw them, because nobody else knows what you're going through at the time, what you're faced with. I think that's the best, as we said before, you act with integrity and show empathy and then document what you did and why you chose to do that, then actually in the cold light of day, that's there to be discussed and people can view on it.
Because the government hasn't said all work shut down. They haven't said everyone needs to. They've said go work from home where possible. They've been very clear and very strong on that point. So you could argue that, let's call it McPherson Furniture for now. McPherson Furniture have got all the computer-based services at home, but the warehouse staff is still at work. Which then brings us to the kind of the next point. Then is like how do we manage the risk of COVID within the business? So I've seen quite a few posts of probably competitors of yours, Christian, to be fair, but a few people and you're very vocal around this, but around, like they're proper like decontaminating their workplace, going around with like, it looks like some out of Ghostbusters, like spraying everything down. It's crazy. Like how clean is clean, and like, are there things that businesses can do? When do we need to get someone like yourself in to do the crazy Ghostbuster stuff?
Yeah. Just if I can just go back to JD's point, because I think it's interesting to me around the liability side of things. I've spoken to a few of the lawyers that I work with and asked that question, are we going to see loads of civil claims against employers to say, oh, I caught the virus when I was at work? And their view was that, it's going to be almost impossible to actually pass that burden of proof to show that you contracted it at work, unless there's someone else, and then you were exposed to them, and so on and so forth. So I think that side of things maybe is, but I think the employment tribunal side, that could be quite interesting going forward. So I think people need to try and do everything they can to keep this social distancing going along. I've been interested. Sorry, James. I've been interested in takeaway food because I live in London. There's still loads of Deliveroo and Uber Eats, and I'm just thinking to myself, how can they be making food in a kitchen which is not very big and keeping 2 meters apart from each other? Doesn't sound.
Well, that was going to be kind of my point as well. Like let's stick with this for a second then, because it's quite an interesting conversation. But like, could there be an argument to say, okay, we can't prove that I caught COVID from your workplace, but we can prove that you didn't follow the guidance, like that 2 meter rule, for example. Probably most of you have seen the post of the video I shared at that construction site. Granted, that was very early on in this kind of situation, but I think there is an argument there. Now, from a civil law point of view, there's got to be damage and loss, and that's where you need to prove that they caught it from there. But from a criminal point of view, I don't know. This is grey, isn't it? But it's an interesting conversation.
It would be. I mean, HSE, I don't think take on any criminal cases unless their success percentage is 99.99999 or something like that. So in other words, they wouldn't take on any criminal cases unless they were absolutely confident they were going to win. So. I think it's certainly possible, and again, none of us are lawyers, it's certainly possible that could happen, but I think it's probably unlikely unless we see something whereby, if that scenario, that photograph that you shared, it turns out that all of those people end up getting the virus and loads of them die or something catastrophic like that, then potentially.
Because you also got to think of the other point, like if they shut down takeaways, like what's the impact on that? So for example, we were getting a delivery. I'm not proud of this, right? So don't judge me, but we were getting our food delivery on Monday. Yes, we probably could have made some dinners with what was left, but we were running quite low, and we did have quite a lot of takeaways this weekend. And I remember saying to the wife, like, well, actually, she's pregnant. Obviously, we said that she's pregnant, so we're trying to keep her away where possible from anywhere. Doing my own kind of risk assessment. I mean, it's maybe like I get some pleasure out of eating a Chinese or something like everybody does. But it's, if they shut that down, it's like, well, you're going to put more pressure on Sainsbury's and Tesco's, etc., aren't you? Because when people start running out, they think, oh, I'll just get a pizza. Do you know what I mean, or whatever. There's knock-on effects to everything, isn't there? So, B&Q are sold out of paint, for example, like I saw the other day on the news. So everyone's doing that, including me. Everyone's pulled their finger out, and John, I better do that job my wife's been asking me to do for the last 10 years, start painting the back room. But so if B&Q shut and stop allowing people to buy paint, what do those people do? And then surely there's like a boredom aspect from the kind of wider national point of view that maybe the government are thinking about. Like, what is the impact wider, socially, financially, economically, etc., of us actually shutting these businesses down? It's not just a simple decision of saying, right, shut all Chinese takeaways down, shut all pizza huts down, whatever. It's huge, isn't it?
Well, it's just an unprecedented situation, isn't it? And I think that's why, going back to what we were talking about on the previous episode, that the government is having to take things day by day and step by step, because there are all of these kind of domino effects that are going on and on and on, and it's impossible to know really where it could end. I mean, I think looking at the unemployment in America and various other sort of financial factors right now, we're kind of looking worse than we were in the GFC in 08, 09. But that makes sense because then what did our GDP drop by, 6 or 7%? Whereas here, probably our GDP in the last month has dropped by 50% or something like that. So it's crazy, really, what's going on.
Like, there's a cultural aspect as well, because not everybody agrees, but we live in a very liberal country, obviously, and the Prime Minister doesn't want to push us into the France, Spain type of area, or kind of that type of way. He wants the freedom of movement, and it's what we're used to here. Is that going to be detrimental to people's lives? Potentially. But he's adamant that he wants talking about London, he wants the city to keep moving, he wants the country to keep moving, and he wants people to keep doing things. So there's always a grey area in between of the extreme left and right. What do? Do you shut everybody in their house completely? Obviously not. Or do you go the other way? And where do you find that happy medium? And there is a cultural and environmental aspect to it.
And there's got to be some really intelligent kind of people. I don't even know what you would call these kind of people, but like emergency planners sitting there being like, yeah, Sharon on Facebook. That's what it is. It's like sitting there going, hang on a minute. If we shut down the B&Qs and all of this, boredom starts to set in. If we lock people in the house, boredom starts to set in, and that surely got to start to cause panic and and all stuff like that. There's got to be all those kind of things going through these people's heads when they're planning this stuff.
It's modelling is what needs to happen. Scientific modelling with people with bigger brains probably than all four of us put together, and they need to model out and statistically work out what the probability of different aspects of what might and what might not happen, and that's where you get the models and the what route you should go down. That's what they should be doing, which I'm sure they are.
Well, one thing is it should help over the next couple of weeks, and probably this weekend, certainly for those that have a garden or a balcony, is a little bit of weather and a bit of sun is going to enable a lot of people to actually get out of the four walls, spend a bit more time outside, obviously with the lighter evenings as well. So that doesn't apply to everybody, but that is going to help. People are going to get oxygen in their lungs and a bit of fresh air and a bit of breeze and that kind of thing. So I imagine there'll be garden furniture and barbecues that'll be being delivered in the next 4 weeks if these shops.
Was to be 17 degrees in London on Sunday, so that is statistically high enough to kill the virus, isn't it? Because I think is it over 15 degrees? Is that correct?
I've heard that a few times, and I'm struggling to find some actual solid scientific evidence of that. I can't. But I've heard a lot of people say that. I don't know the source of that. I don't know if it's real or what.
And that's an interesting sort of way back to your question that you're trying to ask about the whole cleaning thing, because there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation. I should be a host of a panel like this. There's a lot of misinformation around this whole thing. Never mind temperatures and so on. And there's a lot of that in cleaning as well. And that's not helped by the fact that quite a lot of people don't really understand what cleaning is. So there's a difference between cleaning, sanitizing, and disinfecting, for example, which people perhaps don't really know about. And you can't disinfect without cleaning first. And you can't necessarily remove any viruses and bacteria just with sanitizing. You need to disinfect. But what I'm seeing is a lot of sanitizing, not much cleaning. And therefore, that's going to maybe suppress some of any viruses and bacteria that are out there, but not necessarily properly remove it. So I think it's as with all of these things, there's we've said from the government there's not a huge amount of clarity necessarily, and I think around this particular piece there's a lot of information that's probably being misrepresented.
And I suppose that's exactly the same, kind of applies exactly the same to what we've been told about our hands, is that, there ain't naught better than soap and hot water, like your grandma used to say. So is that same apply then? So if we were to sanitize our hands without actually cleaning them, to use your phrase, we're just what, sanitizing over the shit that's already on our hands? Or
I mean, alcohol-based sanitizers, for example, if you've got dirty hands, the alcohol is going to be used up in cleaning, and therefore it's not going to do any sanitizing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
So the principle of soap and water is that you're just thoroughly cleaning. And actually, in most cases, if you were to get like a ATP test or something like that that measures, which JD will know all about, that sort of testing of microorganism levels. If you just give a surface a bloody good clean, you pretty much kill everything anyway. And then disinfecting would go on top of that. But often these kind of sanitization processes don't, they'll suppress, but they'll actually won't do as much as a good clean would in the first place.
Interesting. I need to move this on because we're about 30 minutes in already, but it has been quite a good conversation. That's interesting thing. I put it on LinkedIn as well. JD, you might want to chime in on this, but I kind of like managing touch points. So early on, before the lockdown, my golf club kind of removed the flags and just said to everybody, right, and this hole it's at the front of the green, this hole back, this hole middle, etc., to kind of reduce an unnecessary touch point. I was quite impressed by that. I thought it was an intelligent mitigation of the risk that really doesn't have that much impact on the round of golf. So we can still do what we need to do. We can still allow our customers, we still make money, etc., but yet reducing the risk.
In terms of the question, thinking about bringing creativity to the world of risk, but also really understanding the business and the activity, what people do. So that kind of work as done as opposed to work as imagined. So I think my starting point for me would be the businesses really need to understand what their business is, what their key risks are, and in the current circumstances, not to forget the risks that they were managing a month ago. They've not just gone away, whether it be fire safety, food hygiene, whatever it might be, engineering safety. If you're on a golf course and you've got agricultural machinery, those risks still are there, but the context is different. The context is radically different. So, I mean, we ordinarily, from a health and safety point of view, you talk about PPE being the means of last resort. I mean, that goes through all health and safety training, but all we hear the government talking about is PPE and masks as well as testing. So the first thing is, if you can take somebody out of the situation or change the situation, move some of that out of the way first, that's got to be the starting point. But I think it's one of the key things for our managers at the business at the moment is to communicate with their staff, to interpret the government guidance into the language and the culture of our business and make sense to apply that for individuals, but have that feedback loop so the individuals can actually say, well, how do we do that then? Or here's the way that doesn't apply. And I think that's where you come up with those solutions. But then, ordinarily, you'd probably have reams and reams of documents and risk assessments, and that just doesn't apply at the moment. So, we need to think and act dynamically. But if we take a holistic approach, we focus on what's really important. So actually, there'll be places where Christian's team could go in and make a really big impact, but actually that might not necessarily be the biggest building. The biggest might not be the area with the highest risk. It might be where you've got the biggest number of people, or where you've got a particular situation that you can't manage in any of the different ways. There's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
No, I agree.
It's about how people understand what they need to do and what they can and can't do, and the why. So if we just issue a brand new instruction, say, stay 2 meters away, don't do this, don't do that. If we don't help them to understand why that's important and how, and understand where that can't work and try and find a solution, we leave it to individuals to make up their own choices. An individual, for instance, if that's still live, what are they going to do? If they've got to make sense of it themselves, you'll get 100 guys and girls coming up with 100 different ways of doing things.
I went to my local Sainsbury's local. I think they're called Sainsbury's local, aren't they? On the high street here, and they've kind of installed these perspex kind of glass panels between the people serving behind the checkouts and then anybody that's kind of paying for anything, with little slots underneath that you can pass food underneath and stuff, because I guess that's it's impossible to maintain that distance whilst serving somebody from behind a counter, and that obviously will help. I think the risk of virus transmission airborne is coughing or sneezing and the air particles transferring, so that will obviously help to mitigate that risk. So I thought that was a fairly pragmatic and sensible thing to have done.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think if you're going to look at kind of all these little practical steps that people are taking, like I went to Pets at Home the other day, and they've just kind of marked stuff out on the floor and kind of removed a couple of storage units or whatever to enable like a big space between the desks. And basically the rules are the cashier will tell you, but you go there and it says, right, stay there. Then there's another mark like 2 meters back for somebody to queue behind me, etc., etc. And then you're requested to put your stuff on the counter, and then you back away. Then you move to another spot. They say go and stand on that triangle. You go stand on the triangle. They process all the stuff. You go along, and it was card payment only. So they've eliminated cash handling as well, which, let's be honest, is dirty as. So they've mitigated in so many ways. And it was interesting because when I came back, and I go on the old local Facebook group to see what the local idiots have got to say. And, they're picking holes in all of this stuff. And they say, well, I walked straight over this line and I'm not maintaining 2 meters and I could spit further than that. And, all this stupid. Let's be honest, you can pick holes in this stuff left, right and centre. But the fact is that businesses are doing something. And I think if you're a business owner, that's important, is do something.
Nobody knows the perfect solution. There isn't a perfect solution to this, so everybody has just got to do what they think is right. And as was said earlier, document the reasons why they're doing it, and so that in the event that it's shown that they weren't right for whatever reason, then at least they can show their thought process and that they've done a risk assessment. And we don't live in a perfect world at the best of times, but we're definitely not in a perfect world right now.
Yeah. And I suppose the other thing is, which JD, you kind of touched on, but maybe David, maybe you can chime in. Like it's kind of getting people to buy into this. Like we touched on it in the last one, didn't we? Like nationally, or how I see on the dog walks, like people are starting to buy into it. But it comes into a world of its own when we are in the workplace, is getting our employees to take these controls very seriously, because we have to now. This is serious. We don't build temporary hospitals at the Excel for nothing. Anyone that thinks that this is going to blow by is an idiot. So this is serious. But there's one, getting people to understand it, getting people to respect it and appreciate it, and the measures you're implementing. But also, it's like we do that without creating a panic as well, isn't there? Which is an interesting, I don't know whether that's how the brain works or something intelligent around that, David? Or?
Yeah, it is, and I was talking about that as well before another group I was in. And it's finding that balance. It's very important that we all watch the news and know about social distancing, and that we shouldn't be leaving the house if necessary, and less necessary. And how your business is going to be affected is very important. But when does that information move to a level of fear and becomes debilitating and actually stops? It's well known, of course, that fear stress response will lower your immune system. And when you're working, as we spoke before, in the lower regions of the brain, when your stress bucket, if you like, is full, then you're not going to make the right decisions. You're not as motivated to do what you should be doing. You're not going to make the right rational decisions because you're in that kind of fight flight mode, and the fear has gripped you and taken over. So, as I say, it's obviously important that we know that, but when does it become too much? And of course, that is a grey area again, and everybody's individual. But it's recognising that in yourself of when is this too much, and when is it going to actually be going to start to affect me personally, and as you say, as business owners, actually affecting the people that are legally responsible for.
I think for me personally, right, from how I'm experiencing it, clear, visible leadership, maybe not regardless of what you're saying, but I think that is more important, to be seen to be making a decision, or to be seen to be confident and in control. That kind of spreads throughout the business, or even if you don't seem in control, maybe, as a leader, I would respect it if you're standing up and you're saying, this is unprecedented. We genuinely do not know how to deal with this, but we are dealing with it and we will deal with it. To me, that can make a massive difference.
Definitely agree.
And I think the government over the last few days is starting to lose a bit of that. I think this whole thing around testing and we haven't got the chemicals, but the chemical companies say there's plenty, and I think they're just starting to lose a bit of credibility. And I do worry that will, have a knock-on effect to other people then starting to think, well, perhaps we shouldn't be following the advice. You know what I mean? I think that's quite concerning for me.
Yeah. which is a shame because we've only got 2 minutes 57 seconds left. But that would be an interesting conversation as well. So
we can talk about. Well, if they're still doing that next week, we can just spend half an hour talking
we'll talk about. Well, I think it'll come up next week's mental health, so I'm sure it'll come up. Okay, so right, let's go with Christian. I want like really quick 3 things that practical things people can do, cleanliness wise or whatever, to manage the risk of this virus. You've got like 10 seconds. Go.
Yeah. So first thing would be clean surfaces thoroughly and then disinfect. I would probably not try to be doing sanitizing. If you're thinking about it on an individual basis, I personally would be. When I was going to work, I'd be carrying around my own little spray, and any surfaces I was going to be touching, I'd be spraying on and wiping it off and doing all of that myself. So there's 2.
Cool. Thank you very much. JD?
I think at a personal level, really focus on your mental health, so your physical and mental well-being. Get plenty of exercise where you can. I think for managers and leaders, is going to be invisible, communicate and over-communicate. You can't really do too much communication with your team, but also be receptive and make it a two-way thing. So your teams can engage and share their frustrations and their concerns.
Nice, I like that. David?
I have one big one. Watch your thoughts. Thoughts create your feelings then create actions, and it produces results. So if you change your thoughts, it changes absolutely everything. Focus on what you do want positively, and you will make the choices that you should be making.
You're very much starting to follow the Gary Vaynerchuk business model, David. Just say the same things over and over, like gets into your heads, doesn't it? Like I like it.
Brexit done.
It's not rocket science. Change is not rocket science. It really isn't.
Yeah, I love it. Right,
By the way, I didn't vote for Brexit in case anybody. No, just saying, get Brexit done is a good example of that. But I didn't want people to think that I voted for Brexit when I didn't.
Oh, you're in a rabbit hole now, mate, because you've just pissed off 50.
I've alienated 50% of the people.
Yeah. Right, less than 1 minute to go, gentlemen. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers. See you next week.
Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that podcast. Hope you enjoyed that conversation all around the management of COVID, how we're managing it, how it's leadership. That was an interesting point we made about leadership there. For me, I just think, being seen to make decisions, whether those decisions deemed to be right or wrong at the end of it, it seems to be more important to me to make those decisions. I think a leader, in my opinion, is someone that goes, I'll make this decision, let's go, let's do it. I've spoke to everyone, I've got your opinions, I appreciate all your help, but I've made the decision, this is what we're doing, off we go. Especially in these kind of panic times, we need people to step up and go, let's just go, right? But then true leadership is being able to adjust to that as well, being able to say, right, it's changed, it's evolved, now we're going for this, you're going to get stick for it either way, so you might as well just take control and make those decisions. So a really interesting conversation, covers so much in that. Again, we're keeping these down for 40 minutes. I'm going to say that it's because, we want to keep it, medium form. It's nothing to do with the fact that I'm tight and I don't want to pay for the premium subscription service to Zoom, which allows me to go longer than 40 minutes. Nothing to do with that. Absolutely nothing to do with that. We said before that we wanted to go for medium form. Honestly, we did. We actually did. It was Christian who said that. So don't forget the government guidance. All the links for the government guidance are in the description below. Don't forget, but just in case you did forget, then you should only leave the house for these 4 reasons. Shopping for basic necessities, the bare necessities. For example, food, medicine. This must be as infrequent as possible. 1 form of exercise a day. For example, run, walk or cycle alone or with members of your household. Any medical need or provide care for or help to a vulnerable person. Traveling to and from work, but only where absolutely cannot be done from home. Whilst you're doing those, it's important to note that you still need to maintain social distancing and the 2 meters apart with anyone outside of your household. There we go, couldn't get my words out. And you need to minimize the time spent outside. Right? Don't forget that. All the links are in the description. I'll catch you next week. Remember, they're on Fridays now, not Mondays. See you on Friday. Safe.